Well, I usually say, can you hear me okay? I guess so, right? I usually say good morning at our first show, but for this year, first time in like 14 years we've been with them, they have us starting at 12 o'clock, so I can actually say good afternoon. My name is Ted Thompson-Andrak. We want to thank you for coming to the festival. We want to thank you for coming out to watch us work our dogs. What we're going to do is just kind of move the sheep around, show you the different stages of training. We're going to bring in all these wonderful dogs one at a time and show you how we do this stuff. Bring lie down. Lie down. My name is Ted Thompson-Andrak, and out here with me is my dog Bree. Bree's a 12-year-old Border Collie. All the dogs you see out here today are Border Collies from the border hills of Scotland and England, and where they were created back about 600 years ago. All the dogs over there in Great Britain were called collie dogs, just general collie dogs, any dogs that did ranch work and farm work. And then about 600 years ago, the Highlanders decided, let's get a dog that can do everything, and so they created the Border Collie. The Border Collie has about 11 or 12 different breeds that mix into it through the years. Bree, lie down. Bree, lie down. They are the only breed that they put pointer in. If you'll notice, the Border Collie is the only herding dog that will actually go ahead and kind of like stalk their prey. You'll notice all the dogs that are in here today, when they work, they're going to kind of put their heads down to the ground and just kind of watch the sheep. That's that eye, that's that bird dog that they bred into them. So what we're going to do is we're going to show you a little bit. I'm going to move the sheep around with Bree a little bit and show you how we do stuff on whistles. At the distances that we work these dogs, they have to be able to hear us. The verbal commands on a good day, they can hear maybe about 300 yards. These shepherd's whistles, they can hear out to about 800 yards. So they can hear us quite a distance away. So every verbal command that we also have a whistle command for. Now Bree is just going to screw around a lot for the next half an hour, because while I'm talking I don't pay much attention to her, so she gets to have fun and be bad and all that stuff. She's retired by trial. She's been to the national finals. She was my top trial dog. But at 12 years old, she's just too old to compete anymore. So we do fun stuff like this. We let them back us up. We let them work closer up. She doesn't need to go run out 300 and 400 yards to go get sheep. We use the younger dogs for that. And then when the dogs are up close, we let the older dogs take over. You have to understand, from the dog's point of view, they don't care what they're doing. They just want to go to the sheep. That's all they care about. And you'll see that over the next half an hour with all the breeds. Now what I want you to do is pay attention to the dogs that are out there. Look at their faces. You can tell they want to do this. The beautiful thing about working with an instinct over a learned behavior like obedience, agility, fly ball, all these other things, this is a sport where we work with their instinct. It is a natural instinct, lie down, for them to want to go to the sheep. Okay? It's a natural instinct for the prey animals to move away from the dogs. Lie down. They only want to work. That's all they do. Now you notice, as long as I'm not saying anything, as soon as I say lie down, she stops. But as soon as I start talking again, she picks right up again. Okay? Lie down. And laughing at them makes it worse. Lie down. We love these dogs, unlike some of the other professionals out there that buy and sell their dogs. I don't do that. My dogs are with me for life. I take them as far as I can go. If they're not of national quality, I don't care anymore. I just want my dogs to be happy and have a good life. By the way, the sheep that you're looking at today are Katahdin hair sheep. These sheep will shed out their own hair by themselves. All the sheep that you see out today, all the hair sheep, they're all being used for slaughter now, because the wool industry is something that's kind of defunct out here now. So these sheep we don't have to shear. They'll shed out themselves every year, and then every winter they'll grow their hair back. By the way, none of our sheep at Rancho Ventoso, none of them ever go to market when we are through with them. Even though we can make money on them at market, we can't seem to do that. I grew up in New York City with a poodle, okay? I didn't grow up on a ranch. I don't look at these animals as property. I look at them as living things, and it's our duty to take care of them. Lie down. So when our sheep retire, they get red collars, and they get to just live out their lives until it's that time that we deem necessary to have to put them down, because you can't let nature take its course. Of course, at some point they'll starve to death or So you have to do the right thing. But anyway, we just like people to know that because we like them to know that these sheep are not just things to us. They're for us to take care of. Remember, herding is controlled movement of livestock. We are the guardians of these sheep. We don't want our dogs biting them. We don't want them hurting them. They're supposed to pick up the sheep and move them around quietly and take them for a stroll. So with that, we'll get going now. We're going to show you how that goes, and we're going to have our crew step on out. We're going to bring them all back in one at a time. So the first dog you're going to see out here is a dog named BB. Question we're asked all the time is, I have a herding dog, what do I do? Well, the first thing we need to determine is that they have the instinct. If they don't have the instinct, there's nothing we can do to train them. All right? They have to want to go to the sheep. If they don't pass the instinct test, we will not sign you up for classes. They have to go to the sheep. You can't treat them to go. You can't give them food, treats, or anything else and make them go. They have to want to go on their own. So the first thing, obviously, we have to do is ask for a wireless microphone next year. Something I've been asking for 14 years and I've been unable to get. All right, so in an instinct test, what we do is we have the person come out. Now, we usually do this at home. We put the sheep in a 60-foot round pen where we have control. Now, these sheep, by the way, are what we call school sheep. They're a little bit more dog-broke. They realize they're not going to die. They realize that if they just kind of do what we need them to do, they'll be fine. So you'll notice that today all the sheep are going to go to the handler. They figured out that if we go to the handler, that handler will keep this dog off of us. So the instinct test, breathe out into the instinct test, we just want to see if the dog is going to go. Now, if you guys were here last year, we had this dog on the stock for the first time. It was an instinct test. We put it on the sheep, and it ran out of the arena. It was just a baby, okay? It's funny now because we were able to catch a dog, but the poor owner was paranoid. It was running out there and everything else. You notice this time, didn't do that. Now, last time it was just a young pup. So what we're looking for at the test is just, are they going to go? Are they going to do it? Are they going to want to keep going to them? Now, when they first start, you notice they don't know what they're doing. They want to run in, they want to split, they want to bite them a little bit, they want to just yee-haw. Kelly is out there, by the way, that's my daughter, Kelly. She's out there, her job is to keep the dog off of the sheep, and that's why she uses those fiberglass wands. They're just basically an extension of our arms, okay? So it's her job to teach the dog, you can't run right at them, you got to go around them. So with this dog, of course, obviously you can tell it passed the instinct test. And there goes Bree, of course. Bree's going to just kind of freewheel on her own. This is what we call backup work. Bree's allowed to do this, but only for a little bit because I don't want her to get too tired. But I just kind of let her go. Normally she'll lay down, and if she thinks the dog needs help, she'll get up and move. All right, there's Kelly with the dog, BB. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, BB. Now the fun part is to try to catch her. Now understand, this is like taking a kid to Toys R Us for the first time. And giving them 5 minutes and saying, don't touch anything, and we got to go now. I don't know about you, but my daughter didn't want to leave Toys R Us the first time. Out. Okay, so after we pass the test, we have certain things we want to teach the dogs about. Now, all prey animals. All prey animals have what we call Now you notice I'm not using that S-T-A-Y word, because in theory, we trainers always say, do what we say, not as we do. In theory, if I use that word to her and she breaks that, in theory I should go over there and then make her, bring her back and say, I said to stay here. But they're smart enough to figure out that when we're doing lessons, we can't stop our lesson all the time and go over and correct our dog. So a lot of times, a lot of trainers don't like to use backup dogs. They're trial dogs for backup dogs because the trial dogs start to get a little smart and figure out that, hey, he's on that microphone again. I don't have to listen to him. He's not going to discipline me in front of all these people. He's not going to tie me to the fence and go grab that other dog. He's going to let me do my thing. All right, so now we're going to bring the sheep closer. All right, this is step 2. Bring it down, do. That'll do. All right, we've determined that the dog has the instinct test. So now we have to teach him about that bubble. Remember, guys, around all prey animals, there is a comfort zone, a flight zone, a bubble we call it, okay? Now, a little mistake there. Now, this is just a young pup. He's only about 10 or 11 months old. He's just started training with us a few short months ago. So what Kelly's trying to do is teach him about that bubble. That bubble is what we call a flight zone, a comfort zone. It's what enables the antelope to live in the desert with the lions. As long as the lion stays out far enough, outside of their bubble or flight zone, the antelope can coexist on the same field with the lion. But what happens is as soon as the lion starts to walk towards the edge of that bubble, when it hits the edge of the bubble, depending on how fast it hits that bubble, will determine how fast the sheep, or in this case, the antelope, or in this case the sheep, determine how fast they run away. Breathe on you.
And she steals the show again.
So the first thing that we want to teach these young dogs is that comfort zone. We don't want them to go in. We want that dog to just stay around the sheep. We want them to contain them. Remember, if you've got a lot of land and you know you're perimeter fenced, all you want your dog to do at the end of the day is go out, find the sheep or find the cattle, get them together in a group, and then bring them over back to the barn where they go. So step 2 is teach them about that flight zone, what we call beginning flanks. Start to introduce a little bit of an obedience to them a little bit. Start to work on just the control work that we need. Because if we can't get it done in this kind of a place, if we can't get these dogs to stop for us right away when we need it, how successful do you think we're going to be when we go to the open fields and we put the stock out at 300 and 400 and 500 yards? So, again, this is my daughter Kelly with her dog Tweed. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Tweed. Nice puppy. Look at that. 11 months old, 10, 11 months old, that's all. Now he is considered a sable tri. You notice his markings, a little bit different than Bree. She's a classic, just black and white. Border collies, working border collies come in black and white, red and white, blue and white, blue merle, white and black. They come in a lot of different colors. Now in the conformation side of it, which is what we don't care for necessarily because it takes these dogs and drives the instinct or breeds the instinct out of them, you have the traditional long-coated black and white border collies. But in the working world, we don't care what they look like. As long as they're structurally sound and they can do the job, that's all we care about. All right, up next is our search and rescue dog, Darby. Bree, lie down. Come by. Bree, lie down. Come by. Lie down. There, lie down. Okay, now we've taught the dog about the flanks. We've taught him to go around. Now we have to teach the dog how to go get the sheep. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring out a little bit of alfalfa to help spot the sheep down there so we can show you how we do that. And what we want to do in this case is we want the sheep to settle somewhere. We want the dog to be able to be held somewhere on a stay, and then the handler has to get between the dog and the sheep. Did you notice at the instinct test how Kelly got between the sheep and the dogs? That's to protect the sheep in case the dog runs right at him. The handler's supposed to step in and push him to the side. Bree, lie down. Come do, Bree. Good, you're awesome. You're awesome. Look at you. Okay, so what Kathy's going to do, lie down. This is the beginning outrun. She's going to leave her dog there, and then she's going to go real close to the sheep. Now this is done because, like I said, if your dog runs right at the sheep and we didn't have fences here, what would happen? The sheep would be gone. They'd run away. Remember, the livestock that you're working, sheep, ducks, cattle, doesn't matter what, as long as they're a prey animal, they will move 180 degrees away from the dog. All right? So knowing that, we don't want that to happen. So Kathy's standing close to her sheep. She's going to try to get Darby to go to the right or the left. So let's see how he does. Now he's going outside the bubble. If he was to cut in now, she can push him out. Now if he does it correct, which he did, you have to give him his reward. In this case, the reward is not food. It's being allowed to lift, or what we call come in contact with his prey, or in this case, the sheep. He wants to go to these sheep. So because he did the outrun nicely, he has to get a reward. We don't believe in the pressure on, pressure on, pressure on system of training. We like the pressure on, get what you want, then as soon as you want, take a step back, relieve that pressure, reward the dog with a thank you, and get them right back to work. Remember, punishment for these dogs is not beating the you-know-what out of them. You never have to lay a hand on these dogs. Learn the psychology. Look at Bree out here, 12 years old. She wants to go to these sheep all the time. What do you think is the worst punishment I can do to her? Don't let her go to sheep. As simple as that. Lie down. If she's bad, tie her to the fence, go grab another dog and work that other dog real close to her, okay? All right, so what we're doing now, we're going to spot the sheep again. Kathy's going to call off her dog. Now remember, they have to work both sides equally. Bree, lie down, love. Lie down, Bree. If you're on a mountain, you're on a cliffside, let's say, your sheep are about 50 yards from the cliff. You don't want to send the dog away from them, because if the dog cuts in tight, he could drive those sheep right off the cliff. So you always send the dog to the danger side. You send the dog to the cliff side. You're going down the road. You got a vehicle approaching your stock. The dog can't go to the right side. He has to go to the left side and get between the car and the sheep. Remember that the job of that dog is to make sure those sheep are kept safe. All right, so this time, you notice last time he came this way to the right. Now she's going to send him to the left. And if any of you guys are horse people out there, right now you're saying to yourself, he's not going to the left, he's going to the right. No, with a dog, it's the outside front leg. And a horse, their leading leg is the inside front leg. So if a horse is going clockwise, he's said to be going to the right. With a dog, his outside left leg would be his leading leg. He's said to be going to the left. All right, now look how good that is. Beautiful, beautiful. The sheep are just going for a stroll. Remember, that's what we're supposed to do. Take the sheep out for a stroll. Well, there goes Bree thinking, well, he looks like he may need some help. I better go out there and back him up. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Nice job. Thank you, Darby. Thank you, Kathy. By the way, I mentioned before that Darby is our search and rescue dog. Kathy is a member of the LA County Sheriff's Department search and rescue team, and Darby is a registered search and rescue dog. And I don't know about you, but when I was a deputy sheriff for LA County, I got paid for doing my rescue work. These guys don't get paid for that. They go out at 2 o'clock in the morning and look for people they don't even know. Pretty amazing. So let's have a round of applause for our search and rescue people. What do you think we can do? Our Kathy's twitching dog now. Now we're going to show you the same thing from the advanced level. Lie down. Now she's bringing in her new dog, Chip. Now, that outrun you noticed last time, Kathy got real close to her sheep. That was to protect the sheep in case Darby did something wrong. In this case, she knows Chip is a well-trained dog. She knows he's going to do it right, so she's going to stand at his side and send him. Now, just envision this in the hills of Ireland. The sheep are about 400 yards away. The handler doesn't feel like saddling up. They don't feel like jumping in their four-wheel drive, and they just want to go get their sheep. So what do? They tell the dog, find him. The dog goes out, finds him, and brings him back. So let's see how he does. Again, look at their faces. You can tell they live for this stuff. Now, he did it correctly, so now he gets his reward. Remember that reward I told you? They get to lift the sheep and fetch them. In other words, continue to walk up on him, which is what he wants to do. Now, you'll hear the handlers using the word time or slow down. What that means is you just ran 24 miles an hour out to get the sheep. When you turn in, you need to slow down to 1 or 2 miles an hour. Remember, our livestock are never supposed to be run. They're only supposed to be walked everywhere they go. All right, so he did it perfectly that way. We're going to set the sheep and see how he does it on the other side. All right, here he goes the other way. Very nice. Look at that. Now look at the sheep. They don't care that he's running, but as soon as he starts to come towards them, that's when they start to care, because he's coming close to their bubble. Now again, these sheep are dog-broke sheep, means they're comfortable with the dogs. If you're ever out on the freeways and you see these flocks of 800 to 1,000 head of sheep on those hillsides, those guys have a comfort zone about the length of this arena. If they were down at that end of the arena and we came in this end and started walking towards them with the dog, they'd already be running. So school sheep, their bubble is way, way, way smaller. They had figured out they're not going to get in trouble. Nice job, Chippy. Nice job, Kathy. Good job. Thanks, Chip. Thanks, Kathy. Okay, our next handler up is in with her rescue dog, Phantom. Now, you notice so far all the dogs have been going out, coming back with the sheep, going out, fetching, going out to their heads, turning them and bring them back. Carol is going to show you the next step, which is called driving. She's not going to let the dog go to the head of the sheep. She's just going to stay behind him and teach the dog to work parallel. Now, a lot of you may be asking yourselves, well, why would you want to do this? Why would the dog have to go out and get the sheep and then bring them back and then push them away? Well, because when you're working cattle, you can't fetch cattle. You can't be in the front of cattle. You have to be pushing them from the back side. With sheep, if you're moving a large flock of sheep, you usually have one shepherd or shepherdess out in the front, leading maybe 100 yards away, and then you have 2 or 3 dogs in the backside, just keeping the sheep pushing the same way that the shepherd is going. So in this case, all Carol is doing with her dog Phantom is not letting Phantom run up to the front and bring them back. Now, you'll notice after a few minutes of this, some of the dogs want to do that. They want to break off and run and go get the sheep. Because for the first 6 months to a year of their lives, we've been teaching them that you got to go out, find them, and bring them back. Go out, find them, and bring them back. Now we're teaching them, okay, you did that, now let's take them away. So the dog's mind, as you're pushing them away, they think the sheep are getting away. 3 away. There. There. Lie down there. That'll do. Lie down there. So now she's back to the fetch mode. Now she'll stop. See? Pulls them right into her side and goes back to the driving mode.